Have you heard? The world's about to end.
Humanity is not sustainable.
No, humanity is not sustainable.
Now, before we get to our guests, I want you, the viewers at home, to know something. Our team has spent days reaching out to dozens of lawmakers and Biden advocates and allies. We've had numerous interactions with the Biden-Harris campaign. But not a single potential guest was either able or willing to join us on today's show to defend the president and his decision to stay on the ticket. So we will be having a conversation without that voice, which we have been working around the clock to avoid.
Yes, breaking news. Philadelphia radio station part ways with host who asks Biden questions supply in advance by his team. I don't know if you saw this. It is important I show you what exactly actually went on. She had an interview on CNN where she'll reveal a lot. It is insane.
About 2 months after he took office. That was an interesting experience in its own right because it was so structured and I was told, you will say every word that we write out. You will not deviate from the script and go to the word. Like every single question was scripted, gone over dozens of times by many executives, editors and executives. Absolutely. I was on script and was told not to deviate. It was very much, this is what you will ask. This is how you will say it. No follow-ups. No follow-ups. Next. I knew that this was a lot bigger than just the wonderful editors that I worked with. This went up to the fourth floor, as we said, that were all the bosses, the top executives, the decision makers are the president of our company, the CEO, where they all worked. The big picture to me is that I think it's heartbreaking. I think it's really heartbreaking that the people who love Joe Biden and say they truly care about him have allowed it to get to this point. So I'm not even looking at this from a political angle or my beliefs in anything. This is the human side of it. And when someone is struggling, we allow them to continue to be in the spotlight and put them out there in the first place when they knew there were issues. Of course, they had to know. So it's a humanity thing with me where I don't care where anyone stands and what they vote in for or who they believe in. Do you really care about that person? As a father, as a husband?
Yes, I'm not surprised with this at all. I understand that this is what they have been doing for a very long time. And this happened to be just the very first time they are caught. The lady made it clear that is what they did. She had to even look through to see if there are some corrections, to make on those questions. I've never seen this before in my entire life.
Before the president sat down with George Stephanopoulos, he spoke with two black radio hosts in the battleground states of Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. Both are with me now. Earl Ingram is the host of the Earl Ingram Show in Milwaukee, and Andrea Lawful Sanders is the host of The Source on WURD in Philadelphia. Welcome to you both. Congratulations on such a big week. And Earl, let me start with you. And I'm going to play here the president's answer to your question about his performance in the debate. Here's
Yes, as a result of this lady lost the job. You can imagine that. She's jobless now. After taking questions, pre-prepared questions from the White House to ask Joe. Just imagine this. When I saw this, and compared to the first video you saw, where this lady had the same situation, the White House sending questions and even instructing her on how to ask those questions, I was like, if you are not ready to be president or you are old enough, go and rest.
And there's something that's similar here. You each were, you asked 4 questions, and maybe that's what you were allowed to ask by the campaign or the White House. But they were essentially the same questions, both interviews, about accomplishments, progress in your respective state, what's at stake in the election, what he has to say about his debate performance, and what he would say to voters who think their vote doesn't matter or might sit this election out. Were those questions given to you by the White House, or did you have, or the campaign, or did you have to submit questions ahead of this interview?
The questions were sent to me for approval. I approved them.
Okay, so the White House sent the questions to you ahead of the interview.
Yes.
Okay.
I got several questions, 8 of them, and the 4 that were chosen were the ones that I approved.
Okay. And the reason I ask is not a criticism of either view. It's just that if the White House is trying now to prove the vim, vigor, acuity of the president, I don't know how they do that by sending questions first before the interview so that the president knows what's coming. Let me play here a bit of your interview. This is, and you've probably seen it's gotten a lot of attention, this is when he was asked about his accomplishments as president.
I find it interesting that they saw and heard that. What I got from him was that he was intimating that Kamala Harris was the first Black woman vice president. And I guess with his speech impediment, they heard something else. And I find it interesting that that was the only thing that they picked out of that entire conversation and ran with it. Look, we have a hard way to go in this country. I am listening to the community that is speaking to me every single day on WURD radio. We are answering, looking at the things that are mattering to us. We can't afford to get excited and fumble and flumble about what folks are thinking about the president and his frailty and his speeches. We are concerned about the purging of the government in Project 2025. We've been talking about this on WURD since January, fully and completely, the slashing of the Department of Justice and dismantling the FBI and replacing their traditional independence from political pressure with fealty to the administration. Those are the things that matter to us in the Black community. So when I ask them, what matters most to you, that President Biden has this speech impediment or that he's slowing down versus the other person?
Yes, it is not a surprise to me. For a very long time, I know that this was happening because they don't allow, any kind of person to take questions. They select the kind of reporter to ask. That has always been my concern. There was a foreign trip where Biden took up, he had a sheet of paper, with questions, and the reporters, the kind of question the reporters asked, it has been happening, and a lot of people were not covering it because they don't want him to run. It is coming out on social media now. Even CNN is doing this. At first, they could not do this. We have seen the cheat sheet, in different occasions. So it therefore means throughout all these trips, questions he takes are all prepared. So when you are going, reason they even select the kind of reporters to ask those questions. It is concerning. At this point, when you take a look at this article, in a statement posted to its website, Sarah, president and CEO of War Radio, announced that the station and host Andre Lawful Sanders mutually agreed to part ways during a Saturday interview on CNN. Lawful Sanders revealed that she asked the president 4 questions given to her in advance by President's team. Okay, she has lost her job. The questions were sent to me for approval. I approve of them. Lawful Sanders said. She added, now tell me how people will even believe in some of these radios, when things like this are happening. Everything is fixed and is fake, which to me, it is insane. It should not be happening that way.